Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update. My girlfriend confessed to having feelings for my sister's husband. Original post. My girlfriend of 6 months just admitted to having feelings for my sister's husband, currently dealing with issues. I'm confused and hurt, but her statement just made sense of all the weird stuff that happened in the past couple of months. I remember when I first brought her to meet my family, brother-in-law didn't come because he was sick. My sister kept talking to his sister on the phone to check in on him. I remember we were talking about him, and she hadn't met him yet, just stared. Second she visited, brother-in-law came, and I remember when I stood there with my girlfriend next to me waiting to greet brother-in-law. I looked at her, and something seemed off with the way she was looking at him. The rest of the evening, she kept to herself and avoided us. Third time she visited, I noticed that she started dressing up more nicely, putting heavier makeup, ton of perfume, etc. I noticed a strange behavior all around. Plus, she seemed distant and refused to let me hold her hand when we were all sitting talking in the living room, including brother-in-law. I then found out that she started visiting my parents' house randomly and without me, probably hoping to see brother-in-law there. At first I couldn't find an explanation, but yesterday, she broke down and said that she was no longer sure about us and admitted to having feelings for brother-in-law in the same breath. I blew up at her. I told her to stay the heck away from my family, after she said that she's going to find a way to tell him. We had a fight and I kicked her out. I feel so freaking dumb right now. I don't know what to do. Do I warn my sister or tell brother-in-law directly? I feel like I brought this on my family, and my now ex-girlfriend is threatening to make a move. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You should tell your sister about that. Yep, as soon as possible. And his parents too. They need to know that if she comes around to their house, it's not to say hello. Not to them at least. She has some psychological issues. You owe it to your family to warn them of a potential psychodrama that may be about to unfold. Tell them all at once in a group. If it escalates, your whole family should consider a restraining order. Great idea. Definitely tell the whole family at the same time, either over text or in person. That way they are all warned. I have a feeling the ex will still try to show up to their parents' house, so they need to be warned too. Definitely speak to your sister about this. Tell everyone, all family members, so she doesn't find an opening. Tell it from the mountaintops and alert the media if necessary. These peeps, male and female, can go through an entire family, cousins, uncles, brothers, in-laws. And don't discount the moms, sisters, and aunties either. Do not feel dumb. These people know how to get what they want and from whom. They read a room quick to find a way in, then it's like a recessive gene, and before you even knew it, she'd met your cousin. And now for the update. Hello. So I want to start off by saying I'm sorry for not making some things clear and answering your questions. My brother-in-law never met my ex before, nor they had a history or anything like some here assumed. He's been sick for a while and has been mostly at home. After my ex and I broke up, I went to my parents' house to put them in the picture, and I was stunned when mom told me she knew. I asked her to explain, and she told me that she noticed my ex's strange behavior after she started visiting alone and asking lots of questions about my brother-in-law. My mom, said she somewhat knew my ex was behaving kind of weird at the very mention of brother-in-law. I was then urged to not escalate things and to just block her and move on and not tell my sister or brother-in-law. I was stupid and listened to their advice, and 2 days later, my sister contacted me saying my ex showed up multiple times to her home, but didn't mention anything and said she visited to chat with her. I freaked out and knew that I needed to tell her. I told her to not let her into her house anymore and arranged for us both to meet at my parents' house. My parents kept trying to talk me out of escalating things because they said my sister may not take this lightly and might get physical with my ex. My sister arrived and I told her what happened. She seemed to be in a state of disbelief, and it really took her some time to digest what I told her. My parents tried to downplay it because they didn't want my sister to do anything irrational and out of anger. I apologized to her and told her that I had no idea how things turned that way and that what happened was too much for me to take, but that I didn't want this to escalate. My mom suggested we let it slide and move on and not even tell brother-in-law, but my sister got into an argument with her telling her to stay out of it, then left. The very next day, I got a call from my mom screaming saying my sister beat up my ex after she showed up to her house and refused to leave before seeing brother-in-law. Both got arrested, and this is when my brother-in-law understood everything. He's mad at me and refused to speak to me when I met him at the station to support my sister and give my statement. My mom said I'm the reason my sister was taken in and I haven't seen them in days. I don't know what they're gonna do. I wanted to file a restraining order, but got told I won't be eligible to get it. Not only that, but my ex is the offended party here, and me and the family basically owe her. My brother-in-law wants to see me tonight to have a one-on-one talk about the whole thing. Honestly, I feel ashamed I brought a legit stalker his way, and got my sisters in trouble with police because of my ex. They got enough to deal with and they don't need this mess on top of it. I want to know why the mom was worried the sister would beat up the ex. That's not a typical reaction for most people. Everyone in this story just seems so unhinged from reality. My first guess is that maybe the sister had anger management issue and the mom knew. Exactly this. OP's mom knew exactly how the sister would react. That's why she practically begged OP not to tell her. She knew it would end in a physical altercation where the sister would be at fault. A normal person's reaction to their husband's stalker would have been to not answer the door when they show up, block their number, tell their husband, or call the police, not leaping to beating them up. With a good lawyer, your sister may get off. If your ex was threatening in any way towards your sister and her reluctance to leave after being told to do so multiple times, on top of proof she was stalking your brother-in-law, sister may get a slap on the wrist. Especially if it's her first offense. This is such a mess though, I'm so sorry. This is not your fault. Your mother was aware of your ex's obsession and kept letting her in the house, both during your relationship and even after you broke up. They let this happen, which is the creepiest part. Your sister got physical once she realized what was going on. Did neither she or your brother-in-law suspect your ex was hitting on him? I'm sorry she got arrested, but this is not your fault. You are being made out to be the fall guy here for your ex and your enabling parents. This right here. OP's mother is the one to blame. Ex could have been taken out of the picture a long time ago. Brother-in-law could have been told first before sister was, but the mother wanted to downplay everything. Ex is a stalker and showed obsessive behavior. Mom is 100% to blame for the current situation, not OP. Last story. My mother-in-law suddenly passed away in a car accident last month. At the same time, my stalker disappeared. Original post. My mother-in-law and I never had a good relationship. She has tried to sabotage my relationship with my husband since the day she met me. I wasn't good enough for her handsome and successful boy. I contemplated ending my relationship several times, but my husband always showed that he is on my side, and I love him. A few years ago, I started getting very threatening and scary emails and texts from a person. This person knew everything about me. It didn't matter how many emails and phone numbers I changed, they or he always found me. I made several reports but nothing happened. My husband tried everything to trace the emails, but nothing came out of it. This past year I basically never left the apartment alone. I haven't received a single threatening text or email from this person in a month. After a few days I wasn't surprised. Felt like I always knew it was mother-in-law deep down. My husband hasn't reacted yet. He's consumed with his grief and I don't want to bother him, especially when he bitterly told me you must be very pleased now, when we heard the news and I tried to comfort him. He apologized later and said he was just feeling guilty that he loved and chose me more that he loved her. Now I'm just waiting for him to connect the dots. Will he get it? If he does, will he talk to me about it? I don't know if I will ever bring it up to him. Also, I won't relax and go back to my normal life just yet. But I know it in my heart that it's over and I can't be happier about my life. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You know there are a lot of cases where people had tons of threatening letters and phone calls. In many, they never found out who did it, and most people assumed it was some random psycho. But I wonder how many were someone close to them instead. There was an episode of This American Life about a woman who was continuously the victim of identity theft. Bank account kept getting hit despite changing cards, banks, everything. Turned out she was living with the thief. I have a disabled friend who lives with their family, and friend's identity has been stolen a number of times. I know inside that it's friend's mom. I brought it up to friend, but they don't believe it. To add, mom takes every single bit of friend's social security disability money every month. Every single penny. It's disgusting. I cannot believe I never thought of that. My daughter has a friend that has the exact same thing happening to her. Her parents take all of her money. I will have to see about filing a report. I agree that you should let him connect the dots on his own. I wouldn't even drop hints to help him along the way. Exactly. One day he mentions, hey, at least we haven't seen the stalker in a while. Then you agree and mention how the messages seem to end abruptly, and try to think back when they ended. Don't drop the exact date mother-in-law died, but say something like a few days before that, then see what happens. Maybe if you get lucky, your husband will go through mother's things and find evidence to point to her being the stalker all on his own. We can always hope. If they start up again, it's definitely still someone in the family. They would have been too distracted or busy with this to maintain the harassment, but if it starts up again, the timing is too on the nose to ignore. I go to the police if it starts back up. It's definitely mentally unwell behavior, and who knows what it could lead to. Sorry you've had to deal with this. I sincerely hope that, for whatever reason, it's not actually your husband, as he's my number 2 suspect. I watched too much investigation Discovery as a youth. And now for the update. Hi, I was here maybe a month ago talking about me suspecting that my mother-in-law was my stalker who tormented me for years. I was trying to get advice about whether or not to tell my husband who was mourning her. I decided to wait a little, but after venting here, I was sure that she was my stalker. I started living like I never did before, with 10 minutes walks alone, then 15, then half an hour, and so on. At first my husband didn't notice my freedom, or maybe he did but was processing it himself. Last Friday I told him that I was going out with the girls. Alone. Yes. Do you want me to drive you there? No need. Are you not afraid anymore? No, my stalker won't bother me again. He kissed me and wished me a nice evening. When I came home around midnight, he was still up. He said that he wanted to talk to me. He asked me, was my mother your stalker? Yes. He broke down crying. He said he has always suspected her, and even talked to her a couple of times about it, and she made him so guilty by accusing him of being my doormat. He said he noticed how after so many years of fear and anxiety, I eventually stopped crying in my sleep, and he has noticed that I haven't woken him up for a month now. I actually don't remember half the time I woke him up in terror, but he always told me and my therapist about it whenever it happened. He apologized for never discussing it with me and never protected me from his family, even though he had suspicions. Honestly, I'm not even mad or disappointed. If the police couldn't help me, I don't know how much my husband could have done, and I just want to move on and leave this behind. We are going to start couples therapy, and my husband is planning to tell his family that mother-in-law was my stalker. He is adamant about it, and honestly I think it's a good idea. My husband has also decided not to attend the headstone setting on mother-in-law's grave. I can't imagine the terror that was inflicted on you throughout this experience. I hope you are proud of yourself and your husband for working together to find closure. It must have been incredibly difficult not telling him your suspicion towards your mother-in-law. You are far stronger than I, and likely most people, would have been if put in this predicament. Congratulations on your newly found freedom. I hope you and your husband find peace and healing in the months and years to come. Please keep us updated on how your in-laws handle the situation. Denial can be difficult to overcome, especially when it revolves around a family member's actions. I remember reading your original post and being deeply troubled by the circumstances you were facing. I don't know you, but I want you to know that I admire your strength. I'm so happy that I got my life back, and that my husband doesn't hate me for it. He believed me. The love and mutual respect you two share shows so clearly through your story. You had the grace to give him time to come to the realization on his own. He had the grace to recognize how your struggling coincided with his mother's presence in your lives. It's a beautiful outcome to a deeply troubling experience. Y'all must be two very strong people who have found each other and made the decision to navigate this world as partners. Here's to a lifetime of love and understanding. I wanted so many times to leave the relationship because I couldn't take the stalking any longer, but he has been nothing but supportive and kind to me, and I love him so much. I'm glad we stuck together. I hope I didn't oversimplify your struggle in my response, not that you implied I had. Just reading back on my comment, I realized that I may have been too flowery for the seriousness of your situation. You must have fought through most of the trauma alone, not that your husband wasn't present and attentive, but because the stalking was targeted at you and it was your safety that was put at risk. I can't imagine how lonely that must have felt. I genuinely hope your in-laws display the same level of understanding and support as your husband has. Absolutely not. Your comments are exactly the type I want right now, because I don't want to look back to that period, ever. I remember your post. I'm amazed you had the self-control not to say anything to him. I'm not sure I would have. I'm sorry she put you through such hell, but so glad for you that it's over. I hope that your husband is able to process this and truly come to terms with what his mother put you through, what she ultimately put you both through. Enjoy your freedom from fear, and I wish many happy years for you both. I didn't want to talk to him while he was already down. It didn't feel right. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update 2. Soon everyone will know he's been messing with his stepmother and stepsister. Original post. For a little while, I've suspected my husband of cheating. I didn't have any justification for thinking or feeling this way, but I couldn't stop having this gut feeling that something was wrong. So I decided to keep a closer eye on him, and I still found nothing. And for a long time I was angry with myself for suspecting him and for invading his privacy. We went to marriage counseling and I apologized for breaking his trust in me, and for a little while, all was well. I can't believe I apologized to that lying sack of turd. But that wretched feeling never went away. I tried so hard to get over this feeling that he was deceiving me in some way, and I just couldn't. So I decided it was time to hire a private investigator, instead of playing Inspector Gadget myself. Let me tell you, this was the best thing I ever spent money on. Within a month, the PI was able to confirm my suspicions, but it was a shock to find out that it was his stepsister and his stepmother. Not only that, but he may be the father of his stepsister's newborn baby. I could have killed him, but I kept my composure, and I kept this information to myself and continued to act as normal as possible. Believe me, that was a very difficult thing to do. I slowly started detaching from him and even moved into our spare bedroom, and we continued to drift apart. I moved out, got a new job, and started saving money for our divorce. I got my life in order. Now here we are almost a year later and in the final stages of our divorce, and I've still not told anyone. I've spent the last year preparing for our divorce because I'll be damned to leave this marriage empty-handed. I wanted to handle our financial affairs first because my husband works for his father, and I didn't want to leave him unemployed during our divorce process. This trash of a man dragged out our divorce and fought me for everything, even things that were mine to begin with. But I kept my calm and I won't say a word until I get everything I deserve. That's when I'll tell his father. And his father is not a man to be messed with. I've been assured the check will clear in 3 days or less, and it's over for Robert because as soon as that money hits my account, his mother, stepmother, stepsister, brother-in-law, and father will receive a beautifully written email with pictures and videos of what he has been up to. His dad will tear him apart. Count your days, Robert. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Question: why did he think you were divorcing him? For being emotionally manipulative and a neglectful husband, as well as cheating with other women, as there were others that the PI had discovered. I just didn't tell him I knew about his stepsister and stepmother. I really hope for your sake that he doesn't find this and ruin your plans. There was a girl on here who was planning on burning her boyfriend's world to the ground and posted it the night before, and he found it and ruined everything. Oh geez, I was thinking that. Like it wouldn't be hard. What if one of his mates is on here and knows and recognizes it? I just gotta say, I have worked for a private investigator, and cheating spouse cases are sad, but also feel good to solve. Even when it sucks, everyone deserves answers. How often were they hired for that purpose, and were they usually cheating most of the time? It depends. We are hired for that purpose a lot, really, and most of the cases, like all the ones I solved for example, they were cheating. My job is to prove to my client the affair, but when they come with their insights, I already know that's the case. Just go for the proof. Everything changes when you're trying to keep a secret. Genuinely curious, how do you get into that line of work? I job shadowed one actually as a college student while studying criminology. The owner of the business/boss held the private investigator licensure, and where we lived, it was like an umbrella to also cover those that worked for him when doing investigative work. I just happened upon him looking at possible career options and landed a job shadowing position. The private investigator himself had gone to college for criminal justice and served in law enforcement positions, eventually obtaining a private investigator license and starting his own practice. Now for the first update. I got my money, time to send it. To add, his stepmother and stepsister do not know about each other. I don't know how long he has been intimately involved with them, but I do know it started in adulthood for all involved. Now for the second update. Let's clear some things up. When Robert's father remarried, Robert was already a 30-year-old man. So no, he wasn't groomed, and his stepsister was 31 when she met him, so again, no one here is being taken advantage of. All involved were already well into adulthood when meeting and when they started to fool around. As for the money, well honey, that's money he owed me but was being a prick about giving it back. I invested in his business ventures, and he refused to pay me my share, and that's not something I was willing to let slide. You can't get a broke man to pay his debt. So of course I wasn't going to let him be unemployed during our divorce. The aftermath. I sent the email as soon as I saw the money had hit my account. The first to call me was Robert and I picked up. First words out of his mouth was, "You evil witch." I replied with, "Your mama." And I ended the call. The second person to call me is stepsister's husband, and he was just heartbroken. He asked me a ton of questions, and he asked for my divorce lawyer's information. We also discussed him getting a DNA test for all their kids. Through brother-in-law, I found out that there was an all-out war between stepmother and father-in-law. He tried to kick her out, but she locked herself up in the bedroom. While father-in-law was throwing her things outside, stepmother-in-law called her daughter for help. At some point, stepsister and stepmother got in a fight. The fight was so bad that the neighbors called the police. In the scuffle to separate mother and daughter, they hurt one of the police officers and were arrested. They are still in jail because neither of them has anyone willing to bail them out. The following day, I got a call from Robert telling me that his daddy almost ran him over. So he wanted to come stay with me because he's scared that his daddy or brother-in-law will try to beat him again. Robert is scared to go home. His dad and brother-in-law are pretty much camped outside of his place and have already jumped him twice. Robert is terrified. He tried to stay with his mother, and she told him that he had made his bed and should now lie in it. FYI, I am not done with Robert yet. I've got more planned for him. You should let him stay with you and invite the father-in-law and the brother-in-law. Then go to the supermarket. Go and grab a bag of popcorn. And have their fight destroy my new home. I think not. OP, if they did something to him, you'd be liable for inviting them in, knowing they attacked him already. Don't care if it's real or not. I'm getting popcorn ready for the next episode. This kind of thing is the closest I get to watching trashy reality TV. I freaking love it. Oh crap, that hits close to home for me. I never watch reality TV, but I have this sub as a favorite to scroll every day long. He's really asking the woman he cheated on and dragged through a messy divorce if he could stay with her. This man seriously has no self-preservation instincts. Real or not, I'm freaking invested now. My ex-boyfriend called me 4 years later to cry about his girlfriend of 2.5 years breaking up with him and keeps sending me pics of him and his dog and asking for my help for things. I haven't replied to any of the messages or looked at them aside from the thumbnail my phone gives when I receive them. He cheated on me in the 3rd year of our relationship, and I forgave him and dated him for another year. When he called me out of the blue to say, "I'm not sure I want to be with you," then said he needed a week to decide. I called him the next day and broke up with him, and he threw a fit because he said to give him a week. Some people are shameless. I had an ex that emailed me, that we were taking a break and that he would contact me when we would talk again. For context, he was living out of town and told me he would reach out before he was due to come to town again to see if we would talk about our relationship. Called me a week later upset that I didn't try to reach out. I told him, if anything, I was just following what he told me. He asked, "So, are we going to get back together or what?" My reply was hanging up on him. They really are shameless. Now for the last story. Update. I found out that I'm the other woman. I told the wife. Original post. A few days ago, I found out that a guy I used to date last winter had given me a fake last name, got married in early spring, and had been engaged living with his fiancée the entire time we were dating. And as we continued to hook up every now and then, in the months following us no longer dating. He was able to hide his wife from me in a variety of ways. That all added up to be a perfect scenario for him to continue to lead me on, and without me seeing a reason to ask many questions. For example, he was a coach and had weird work hours. Like very early mornings and evenings after normal work hours. So many of our dates were lunch dates. He was also going through a messy custody hearing for his son that was scheduled for March 2022. So when he started to be busy a lot, I understood and didn't ask questions. He had told me he didn't have social media to avoid giving his ex any fuel at all for the hearing. So when I couldn't find him online, well, he had already told me why. At the time, there was no solid reason for me to distrust him even if things sometimes felt a little off in my gut. At one point, I did question his interest in me when he didn't reply for a few days. And he told me, "Sorry, busy weekend with my son." He would reassure me and apologize. So he had many chances to set me free even without coming clean. He could have just said, "Yeah, I'm not feeling it anymore. I wish you the best." And I feel so stupid for thinking what a great father he was for being so focused on his son when he had his weekends with him. He eventually was honest with me as the custody hearing got closer and told me that he needed to be focused on that and that he couldn't give me what I deserved in a relationship right now. When we stopped seeing each other regularly, we stayed in contact and occasionally slept together since we were both single, or so I thought. I even looked back through my calendar and we saw each other 2 days after his wedding weekend. Eek. I found out that he was married when I mentioned him at a business, and someone who worked there said they think he was their coach. I'm purposefully keeping that vague because when I confronted him, he tried to get me to tell him who it was that he coached who told me. I wasn't going to play that game. So, we looked up his coaching profile to see if we were talking about the same person. And there he was, smiling with a different last name than what he had told me 10 months ago. With the description saying he likes to spend time with his wife, his son, same name he told me, and dog, same name he told me. More Googling at home brought up a wedding registry for a wedding in April 2022. Both of their Facebook profiles where they are in each other's pictures, and the house he lives in with the wife's name as the owner. I feel so disgusted, deceived, targeted, hurt, mad, sad, shocked. So, ladies and supporters of ladies, do I tell the wife? Part of me wants to, so that she isn't also being deceived by this guy, and so he doesn't get away with it. But I also want to just be done with it, move on, and never think about him again. I'm afraid to open a door that I can't close by involving myself more into his twisted life. I'm slightly concerned about his reaction if I tell him, like my own safety or that of my property since he knows where I live. Or if there's any other way a cruel and cunning person would get revenge that I'm not thinking of. Any advice or similar experiences? Thank you. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Yes, she needs to get tested. You need to get tested, and he needs to be alone. I thought you meant religiously tested and was actually like, yes sister. Then got it after the second sentence. Ugh, this man. I hate it. Damn, yes. As someone who's been the wife, tell her and tell her right now. I'll second the yes. Do you know why he is having a custody hearing for his son? Could this have maybe been that he is a serial cheater and he has cheated on a former partner or cheated with the mother of his son? Just my thoughts when I hear a situation like this. He told me they broke up because she changed a lot. He didn't use such neutral wording and became horrible. And he worked too much and wasn't around enough for her and their son. I have no idea how much of this is true. He told me a lot about the ex that made her seem very irrational and angry. But I feel like guys like him tend to like to make themselves the victims too, so who knows what she is really like. Edit. I really appreciate everyone's advice and sharing your past experiences. It's all been very helpful and was exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to tell the wife as anonymously as I can, as soon as I can, once I figure out how to do it in a way that makes me feel safe in case things explode. And now for the update. After protecting myself and my identity in what ways I could, I told the wife. I found her number and texted her a brief factual message that her husband cheated on her. The date we matched on Bumble, how I had no idea he was engaged or married, the fake last name, and how he never mentioned her but did mention other people in his life. I gave her a few screenshots to demonstrate that it went on over a series of months. She replied the next day thanking me. She said she was on her way to her parents' house and was planning on filing for divorce as soon as possible. She had been suspicious after testing positive for HPV about a month ago. As I and you guys suspected from the house being only in her name. Apparently, he is completely financially dependent on her, and everything he told me about having investments in small businesses is a lie. I also found out that in addition to a fake last name, he gave me a fake phone number too. She cautioned that he may try to retaliate once she gives him the news, and she will message me before she gives him the papers, so that I can go to a friend's house for a few days if I feel the need. It's been a stressful and emotional past few days. I'm upset that men like this exist, but proud of myself for telling her. Thankful to my friends and to all of you who encouraged me to tell her. Proud of her for leaving him. A little bit scared of what he will do. Sweet baby Jeebus. I'm so overjoyed to see two women taking care of each other instead of one placing blame on another who tried to do the right thing. You two are a wonderful example. Love this. I found two overseas best friends this way. Found out my ex-boyfriend had cheated on me with a plethora of girls, a few overseas who obviously didn't know him day to day. I legit created a group chat and added like 12 to 15 girls and explained I had an engagement ring on and we'd been together just over a year. After one of them messaged me genuinely terrified I would be fuming with her. I'd left him but didn't want them getting hurt. Not one of us was angry at the other. A few just moved on, but I ended up with two American besties who even helped me make the last few messages I sent him with facts from them to prove his cheating. Not one of them knew about me. I can't be pissed at them for that. I'm glad she's giving you the updates along the way, so you can protect yourself. Sorry you have to go through this and happy that you're on the other side now. That's awesome, the wife seems chill about it. Maybe she already had suspicion of him doing it. Also, damn though. If she says he might retaliate, that's messed up. Stay safe. Good on you for outing a D-head. It's hard to say from just a short post. Based on what we were told in my own very unfortunate experiences, I would peg this guy for a narcissist. They distort reality and manipulate people at will in such crazy ways. When you call out the truth, you're assaulting them. It's extremely irrational, which is why it's so hard to manage. So if you hit them hard enough or enough times, with truths that attack them and their false realities, they lash out. Because in their world you're the enemy, and their actions are justified. My ex tried to start a fight with a lady in the airport one time because she was rude to her. The lady realized she struck a nerve with my ex and just kept needling her. I thought they were both acting like ignorant jerks. Bunch of grown women acting like children in public. When I told my ex I was embarrassed, she got mad at me. My mind was blown that she couldn't understand my point of view. Two 30-plus-year-old women fighting because someone cut in line. Here's some humor to close it out. How do you know a narcissist is lying? Their lips are moving. I started saying, just because you say it doesn't make it true, to my ex right before I vanished from his life. He never had anything to come back with on that.